One, two, three. Can you hear me? Turn this damn fan on early. Honey. It's hot in here. My father got the project heat up in here, honey. He don't play around in the winter with his bones. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. It's December the 1st. Happy holidays. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday weekend. Yes. The judge is here. He was on time, but he was not on time because he wants to go live on his brand new Apple desktop. Now he's trying to figure out the background. So it's still a holdup. It's still a holdup. So how is everybody doing? Listen, guys, before we get into it, it's going to be a really good show. We have a guest. Yes, we have a special guest. She's going to be coming up on a second hour. She's running for Senate in the state of Illinois. Pamela Denise Long. Yes. And honey, we got to talk about Minnesota scandal. The Somalians been stealing billions of dollars from our American government, honey, state and federal. I put too much moisturizer on my face. Yes. Ilhan Omar, honey, she about to be deported if they find her on some fraudulent charges. So what's going down in Minnesota? And we got to talk about Trump versus Illhan. We got to talk about Trump versus this autopen. Honey, we got to talk about 50 Cent versus P. Diddy, because I can't wait for that documentary to drop tomorrow on Netflix. Yes. What else we going to talk about? Campbell's soup. And, and a couple of, and then, of course, we got to talk about culture. Yes. So shout out to everybody on X. Please like and repost. Guys, please share this live stream on all of your social media outlets. Thumbs up. Share. Get in the comment section and comment. Yeah, what's going on with Fanny? You know what? I gotta start Googling her. If Fanny is not about to be locked up, or if the state of Georgia, is not going to demand that she sit in front of that Senate committee, what's going to happen with Fannie Willis? They're going to quietly let that case or her charges or her investigation, they're going to let the investigation on Fannie Willis quietly go away. And you could thank the Republicans in the state of Georgia for that. They're going to let it quietly go away. Yeah, it's a lot going on. It's a lot. I really don't have a monologue. My monologue is just me briefly talking to you guys while we wait for the judge to get his background together. Yes, and it's a lot going on. First of all, it's a holiday season, so people are shopping. The Black Friday blackout protests failed because not only Target, but a whole bunch of other major department stores saw an increase in sales. That's why they call it Black Friday, so they could get in a black and not stay in a red. A lot of things going on in the news. And then people are busy traveling. It's snowing here in the Midwest. People got to figure out, monies to buy Christmas presents, all this other stuff. I don't celebrate Christmas. I don't celebrate pagan holidays. I don't. No, I don't. And thank God my grandchildren are Muslim. But I stopped buying Christmas presents when my kids were kids because it was just too frustrating. I'm like, why am I constantly breaking my neck, stress? Because it's so stressful going Christmas shopping. Why? When they get stuff all year long. Birthdays are their Christmas. That's the big holiday for the kids, or birthdays. So I stopped buying them presents, but they didn't care because they wasn't missing anything. Because they know they would still get what they want to get anytime during a regular year. So I had to really check myself. Like, I used to get upset. I used to get depressed. I used to be mad. I used to feel overwhelmed around the holidays because I'm like, okay, I got to get this. I got to get that. What did it? I stopped. And then it was just a weight lifted off my shoulders. Let's see. I still don't like the background.
How about that?
I wanted to see the barbecue sauce on the background.
There it is.
You got everybody looking in your house.
That's not the house. That's just looking
Oh,
back
that's
toward
the kitchen.
the storage room. That's not the whole kitchen.
I
That's
know
just
it's not,
straight
but
back.
you can still see a piece of your house. You know, people are
Well, that's all right.
nosy.
That's okay. I got anyway. Let's try it this way. Maybe I can.
Well, oh, I thought that your thing was on a stand.
No. Anyway, tell you what. Since you're talking about it, one of the things I think they're doing with Fannie is the Republicans are not dropping the ball. Back in the 1980s, they scapegoated Ollie North because Congress had forbidden the supply of arms to certain entities, especially in exchange for money that was given to the Contras in that Iran Contra thing going back and forth. And Ronald Reagan had signed 3 executive orders, and they had him dead to rights. If they wanted to file impeachment articles against him, they probably could have gotten him. But Congress brought Ollie North in front of it, and they really went through a close grilling of Ollie North, and they wound up getting a criminal conviction against him, but they threw the conviction out on the technicality that they had violated his Fifth Amendment rights and what they did in front of the congressional committee in question. So that they're not dealing with Fannie Willis in Georgia is not necessarily a bad thing. They may just have made the executive decision, not well, administrative decision within the halls of their legislative body to prosecute her criminally, so they don't want to give her a parachute by risking too close a cross examination, which might elicit some answers from her, which would taint the thing Fifth Amendment wise, and let her do an Ollie North technicality on beating the case. That's one thing because I can see that taking place right now, and that would be a strong reason not to get into it too deeply.
Mhm. Okay.
So we'll see.
Um
You know what the phrase is? There is more than one way to skin a cat.
mhm.
There's one more than one way to jack up a fool or a crook.
So do you think she will be sitting in front of that Georgia or
I think it might be better in the long run if they didn't, if they intend to prosecute her, just let it go and return an indictment so she can't get the Ollie North thing going where she can claim that she had her Fifth Amendment rights violated by being too closely examined in some proceedings. That's what they did with the Ollie North defense.
but he got
So,
off?
yeah, he got convicted, but on appeal, the conviction was set aside for violating his Fifth Amendment rights.
Yeah. All right. Well, we might as well get into it.
Yeah.
Minnesota. Give me a second, because I always do this, and I had it, and then I don't see the damn headline that I was supposed to be reading from. This always happens. I need to get it together. Give me a second. Can, can you say something? Are you muted? Oh,
Yes, I was being quiet.
okay. 1 second. I just gotta log in to something. Damn. All right. Minnesota swamp. Fraud swamp Minnesota social services system on Tim Walt's watch. Prosecutors say members of the Somali diaspora, a group with growing political power, were largely responsible. President Trump has drawn national attention to the scandal amid his crackdown on immigration. Federal prosecutors charged dozens of people with felonies, accusing them of stealing hundreds of millions of dollars from a government program meant to keep children fed during the COVID-19 pandemic. Many in the state saw the case as one off abuse during health emergency, but as new schemes targeting states' generous safety net programs came to light, state and federal officials began to grapple with a jarring reality. Over the last 5 years, law enforcement officials fraud took root in pockets of Minnesota Somali diaspora as scores of individuals made small fortunes by setting up companies that build state agencies for millions of dollars worth of social services that were never provided for. Now, federal prosecutors say 59 people have been convicted in those schemes so far, and that more than 1 billion in taxpayers' money have been stolen in 3 plots that are investigating. That is more than Minnesota spends annually to run its Department of Corrections. Minnesota fraud scandals stood out even in the context of rampant theft during a pandemic when Americans stole tens of billions through unemployment benefits, business loans, and other forms of aid. So I want to play this clip here.
I can hear you playing it.
Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz deflecting on the fraud schemes that prosecutors say led to the theft of more than $1 billion in taxpayer funds. Many of the defendants are members of the state's Somali community. Let's bring in Minnesota House Speaker Lisa DeMeth. She is running against Tim Walz for governor. That election is next year. Lisa, for people who are catching up from the holiday weekend, how would you describe the fraud that was happening in Minnesota?
Fraud in Minnesota under the watch of Governor Walz has exploded in his 7 years as governor. There are 28 known scandals of fraud, just over 7 years. And as you heard, Dana, he has said that he takes responsibility for putting people in jail, but he's never apologized to the taxpayers. He's never taken accountability of saying this has happened on his watch, and he's pushed it aside until I, as Speaker of the House, established the Fraud Prevention and Agency Oversight Committee this legislative session, and it has finally drawn national attention. Something that has gone on for years, $1 billion or more of fraud under Governor Walz, finally getting national attention. Thank you.
Speaking of that national attention, it's not just here on Fox News, but the New York Times wrote about it as well, saying that how fraud swamped Minnesota's social services system on Tim Walz's watch. And this is also a lawyer for one of the defendants saying no one was doing anything about the red flags. It was like someone was stealing money from the cookie jar and they kept refilling it. Lisa, there were whistleblowers who were ignored?
That is what we are hearing. And we did put additional whistleblower protection in during this last legislative session. We also tried to put in an Office of Inspector General, an independent Office of Inspector General, and the Democrats in the House denied us that opportunity. It had been passed in the Senate, bipartisan, and we could not get it through the House as a protection, I believe, for Governor Walz, not wanting that Office of Inspector General on an outside view looking in to see what he was really doing. I think he prevented that from going forward.
I want to read to you from the White House rapid response reaction saying that Tim Walz on the $1 billion fraud scandal that took place on his watch, I take responsibility for putting people in jail. It's not just Somalis. But they say this, number one, Walz didn't do jack other than let it happen. These are federal cases. And number two, 71 of the 75 people charged are of East African descent. Now, fraud can happen anywhere, under any circumstances, without proper safeguards. But what about this angle here in terms of the concentration of where the fraud was coming from?
As the governor said in the interview that we are a prosperous state and that would attract criminals, that is not true. We have poor leadership at the top here in Minnesota. What that means is criminals are going to be coming to Minnesota to do their criminal activity. That is a disrespect for taxpayer dollars, and it means at the very top of our state, fraud has been allowed to go forward for years unchecked. It is now, thank you to President Trump and the White House for getting the attention with the U.S. Attorney's Office, making those prosecutions happen. That's what we are grateful for,
Lisa,
because we've been trying to sound the alarm for years.
Let me jump in and ask you one last question. Sorry, I want to just ask you one last question before we run out of time. Do you believe that former Vice President Kamala Harris, who chose Walz to be her running mate in those 107 days of her campaign, do you think that she ever asked about this? I mean, when you're vetted to be the Vice President of the United States, should be a very serious vetting. Doesn't appear that anybody had this on their radar.
I don't know that she asked the question. I wouldn't be able to answer that, but obviously it was not vetted properly to see what was going on here in the state. We knew about fraud before Governor Walz ever became the vice president pick.
All right. Lisa, thank you. We'll follow.
So, I'm sorry. I had you muted. So, yeah. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's just typical of what you get out of the Democratic Party these days. They don't feel that they have any business to take care of. It's merely subjective, emotional, social programs and agendas that they have, but the business of government is beyond them. And it's just absolutely astonishing that he'd say, well, this is an attractive state, so we're going to get lots of criminals coming here. But then it turned out to be Somalis, which show that almost overwhelmingly, which shows that the immigration party is crap. It's fraudulent, and it also is what we are seeing so much of today as to why the blue run cities are hellholes of lawlessness, because it's not been the business of the Democratic Party to enforce the law and maintain public peace, dignity, and order. That's just something that's beyond them, or beyond what they think is their job to address. In other words, oh my God, our people are all victims of crime, but not in terms of being the homeowners and the ordinary citizens that get robbed, beat up, murdered, burglarized, but the criminals are the victims of society. So oh my God, we can't have law and order because that would mean putting some of these crooks in jail who are not playing Robin Hood and ripping off the adversity that is out there. They are stealing from their own neighbors, killing their own people and whatever. It's just a horrendous mindset. Something's wrong with them. And this thing about not vetting Waltz's failure to deliver on his obligation as chief administrative officer for that state of Minnesota, a large one, and failing to maintain some kind of public dignity for the place and allowing this rampant embezzlement, theft, and misconduct to go unaddressed after warnings is just inexcusable, and it shows what kind of garbage we would have had in the White House, either from the neglect of the presidential candidate, Mrs. Imhoff, or her running mate, who was supposed to be backing her up. Neither one of them needed to be sitting in the Oval Office or anywhere close to it, or the observatory, which is the VP's headquarters. Neither one of them needed to be doing a damn thing for the American public, except being someplace other than running the American public.
But can you imagine if she was elected and he was the VP, that the amount of fraud that would have continued?
Oh,
Not just,
yes.
you
That's
know,
horrible.
yeah. And not just in Minnesota, but in other states and on a federal level. Because remember when Doge was created, they found all of these fake social securities and money going to NGOs internationally, which was kind of like non-existent. There was a lot of corruption and wasting of money going on. So, I want to go back to highlighting Tim Walz, Tampon Tim. I think I'm about to call him Tampon Tim. So I won't get his name confused. But he's saying that he wasn't aware, and now that he was aware, people are being arrested. But the Minnesota Staff Fraud Reporting account says, for public awareness, we did write to Kamala Harris and the DNC multiple times, warning them about Tim Walz and his incompetence, fraud scandals, and retaliation. We tried our best to keep the public informed as our tweets are public. Maybe Kamala Harris turned a blind eye to fraud like her running mate. Over the years, our messages have not changed. We need fraud to stop in Minnesota and good governance to be restored. Ms. Harris listened to Minnesota state employees who work every day to deliver best services possible to our state and people who expect no less and pay our wages. Tim Walz has caused incredible harm to our state and agencies, retaliated against whistleblowers against fraud. And here's a list of all the scandals from 2019 to 2024. So that and it's Medicaid. I can't hear you. Why are you muted? You're muted. Wait a minute. It's me. I'm sorry, it was me. Sorry. Go ahead.
What you see is also what California got when Kamala Harris was Attorney General for the state of California. I was still out there. And when she was the district attorney up in the Bay Area, that's what you got. Just total neglect of her responsibilities to protect the public. It's like you hold this position, governor, or you hold the position as attorney general, and you don't think it's your job to protect the public, or you come up with some screwball idea like you got a popular liquor store that is just first class. So it attracts people, and it also attracts armed robbers. So your solution to the armed robberies that occur at this deluxe liquor store is to shut the place down as a public nuisance rather than taking care of getting the criminals out of the way. That's what she was doing in California, and her tenure as top cop in the state was a disaster. So we had a disaster in one sense who just typified what you get from the blues. They can't keep anything peaceful. They can't maintain order, and they certainly aren't to be held accountable for the fine details of government. Now, that's just the way they are. Like in Tennessee's all red, with the exception of a little spot in Nashville and Memphis. So, what do the Memphian Democrats want to do? They sue the Republican governor, the Republican attorney general, and the commanding general of the Tennessee National Guard to stop the National Guard being here to assist in law enforcement, because they say it's helping out this horrible boogeyman, Donald Trump, in Washington, D.C. So, in order to stop this kind of thing going on in D.C., which they never can pin it down except to accuse Trump of doing what they're doing, we're supposed to get death and theft on the streets of Memphis that the ordinary people have to suffer because they want to go get the boogeyman. That is about the dumbest. It's like, these people want to run something? It's like, come on now. And this is just typical.
Right. I want to play this clip here. Let's see.
Allegations in a
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Allegations in a Minnesota voter fraud case that first came to light this summer. 2 people pleaded guilty in federal court to being paid to help register voters. In all, 500 to 600 fraudulent voter registration applications were submitted to election officials in offices in 13 Minnesota counties. Esme Murphy has been following this case, and she joins us now. Esme?
Hi there, Frank. It was some sharp election workers in Carver County who realized the names and addresses on the voter registration forms did not match with any county residents. Prosecutors charged 2 people with 1 count each of voter registration fraud. According to the charging documents, the 2 were paid by an unnamed foundation to help register voters. The 2 defendants pled guilty this summer and have since moved out of state. The scope of the 2-year FBI and state investigation was not previously known.
And it's very significant that they said today it was 13 counties, between 500 and 600 fake voter registrations. And that's just from 2 of the independent contractors that worked with this group.
The investigation involved scouring hundreds of records.
On guidance from the FBI, the voter registration applications were mailed directly to the election lead, and instructions were shared to use gloves when handling the forms.
In testimony before the committee, Minnesota Secretary of State Steve Simon says the system designed to catch voter fraud worked.
This is a case about individuals who conspired to submit false voter registration applications. This is not a case about fraudulent votes. And this is ultimately a case of the system working.
How many were in the system is challenged.
Republican Committee Chair Kristen Robbins, who is running for governor, says she has additional concerns that the unnamed foundation that paid the 2 workers is funded by state taxpayer dollars.
99% of their budget comes from state grants. So this is a group that the state is funding and that then went out and did these voter registrations.
Now, the hearing left a lot of people, including us, with a lot of questions that were not answered. One of the big ones, the
Allegation.
Yeah. So
If you still had Biden-Harris in there, Biden-Harris-Imhoff in there, or Harris-Imhoff-Walson boy in there,
tampon Tim.
Tampon Tim, they'd be swearing up and down that this was some kind of Donald Trump hallucination and fabrication, claiming that there would be voter fraud. And here it is. So after you get a load of what they've been up to, you have to think, well, maybe, since they've been making such a big fuss about telling a lie long enough and loud enough, they must have really been covering for 2020 as well. So Trump was correct on that. And he's been shown to time after time not to have been lying to the public, though they want to make him some kind of pariah. That's all they have. And it's kind of to the point where it's self-defeating. Like, come on, nobody is that bad. And besides, this stuff does seem to be working. So you get all of these negative reports about Trump's ratings are falling. Well, they just go ask people that they think will be negative to Trump. Like there are places in Memphis I could go to, and I could guarantee that anything that's Republican or conservative or connected with MAGA or Trump is going to get downrated. But I can go 10 blocks in another direction, and I can guarantee you that they will go upscale. So if you wanted to show Memphis was anti-Trump, just go pick that area out where all the rainbow flags are flying, and you'll find all kinds of negativity. It's their right to feel the way they do, but I mean, when the news media is not objective in what they report, then we get a bad idea and we get fed this set of lies over and over again about what's wrong with the system and why the thing is not working. And
Well,
it's not true because it is.
well, here's the thing. Trump also halted temporary protection status to Somalians as well as Haitians. And and he also said he's not going to allow anyone from third world countries to come in here. But at the same time, there are people who are coming in here that are not third world countries. They commit crime and fraud as well.
Sure.
I just think that, how are these people being vetted?
Well, here's one thing too. You want your immigrants to ramp up the country. In other words, to boost it.
Hmm.
Think of it as a athletic team, a professional team, whether it's basketball, baseball, football. Baseball, you have minor leagues and so on and so forth. Football, they come out of college, and basketball the same way. And the idea is to pick those people who can improve the team, first round draft choices. So what happens is, why pick people that aren't very good for the draft into the country? In other words, what is their educational level? What kind of courses did they take when they were in school coming up? Was it something where English was strictly taught, where math was pushed, where STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math were things that were uh, of great importance to the educational system? Now, we have it bad enough with the way our educational system has rotted. We used to have one of the best in the whole world, our public schools, and now no one wants to go to public school because they don't teach anything rigorously. And we have damn fools like Waltz and some other Democrats who say the children don't need to learn how to cursively write, and they don't need to memorize their multiplication tables and learn longhand division and multiplication, and they don't need to do homework. And the state of Washington is doing one of the dumbest things I've ever seen, which is they no longer have a bar exam, saying that discriminates against minorities who've always had their hearts set on practicing law. Well, it's a public function, and the law you accrue in the country is pretty pathetic these days as it is. And to let it slip further, it's like, hey, how would you like going to a doctor's office and the doctor didn't have to go through any medical boards before he could start practicing on you and prescribing medication or performing surgery on you?
Yeah,
See, that's
I have a really
crazy.
good I have a really good clip that I'm going to play later after our guests come up about, and it's a teacher, it's a former teacher, so she's not teaching anymore. So now she could, spill the tea on how the children are not being educated. But I want to swing back to Tim Walz and this Minnesota Somali scandal, because he was on Meet the Press this Sunday, and I want to play this clip. I think she asked some really good questions lately, this reporter, but he was deflecting. And again, you're talking about, oh, they always want to talk about Trump. And that's all they do is try to defer to Trump.
For him to just randomly decide to do this, it makes no sense. Do your job. Get the criminals out, secure our border, but do it with dignity and respect to the American tradition of respecting immigrants and refugees as a beacon of hope.
Well, speaking of the Somali community, President Trump is targeting them and your state in part. He's citing fraud as the reason for his crackdown. Dozens of people of East African descent have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for stealing more than $1 billion in taxpayer money from government programs during COVID. As you know, Governor, that is more than Minnesota spends each year to run its Department of Corrections. So I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy. And as you heard Senator Kelly say, this president has cut a lot of inspector generals. He's cut programs that could help us tackle this on. So we'll take it on. We'll put folks in jail. I don't care what your nationality is. I don't care what your religion is, your color. If you're committing crimes, these are programs that were meant to serve students with autism, to housing, and to making sure people had enough to eat. There's a reason Minnesota ranks as the top. Lowest childhood poverty, best place for children to live. People are taking advantage of that, they're going to prison. That is totally disconnected with demonizing an entire group of people who came here fleeing civil war and created a vibrant community that makes Minnesota and this country better. But that's Donald Trump. Deflect, demonize, come up with no solutions. He's not going to help fix anything on fraud. My God, there's a big difference between fraud and corruption is something he knows about.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, again, they always got to spin it back to Trump. Like, Trump is the problem. Trump is the boogeyman. I can't hear you. Is it me? No, it's not me. Why? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You're muted. You have to unmute. Judge, you're muted for some reason.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay. They had the Obama administration, and since they're cousins, I'd put Bush in there too. He wasn't typically Republican. He's just one of those accidents that slipped through the system, and being from the background he was from, he made it in spite of himself. Bush, Obama, and Biden have let this American public down badly, and there have been 25 years less 20 years that we have not had just general incompetence in taking care of the fine details of governance. They just don't have it. It's not their backgrounds to take care of that kind of business. They are just ideologues who mouth away, telling the big tale that is told loudly and long by the communications industry, entertainment industry, and news industry, until a large portion of the American public was beginning to believe it, was beginning to hate the fact that they accepted it as a reality, or that they perceived so many people did. It was causing a lot of loss of internal respect for the country. And it's just time that we turn this around, because the average American is a decent person. He's a man or he's a woman, and he stands for masculinity and femininity, a right way, a set of principles, dignity, honor, accountability, rationality, logic, reasoning, and dispassionate analysis of events. And we have been given a bill of goods for quite some time trying to get us to switch over to something else, and that's not a good thing.
Right. It's not. And listen, the better choice was Trump Vance over Harris and Waltz.
Oh,
Because
indubitably.
and I don't want to sit here and say what if they were, because they're not, but if they were, we would still have open borders. It would
And
that
don't forget Al Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas,
yeah, all of that.
Iran, North Korea, the People's Republic of China, and some other folk that hate our guts that don't have B-52s, B-1s, B-2 bombers, and those long-range delivery systems that have just been allowed to walk across the border with the high explosives. But seriously, this needed to stop. And what Donald Trump and MAGA represent are respectively a laxative and an enema to clean out the constipation in this country. And when those things get administered, stuff starts gushing out. It doesn't smell too good.
Right.
So, is it Donald Trump and MAGA administering the enema after the laxative that's the bad thing, or what they're getting out by administering those two things that stinks to the high heavens?
Right. Well, speaking of comparing one administration to another, so today, December the 1st, happy holidays. First Lady Melania Trump, they released the video of her, the Christmas video showing the decorations in the White House, right? And it's pretty. It was very pretty. Actually, let me go to the White House
Are
on.
you talking about the contrast between the left side of the screen and the right?
Yeah, but real quick, before we get into the contrast, I want to play the whole video of the White House video showing the Christmas decorations. 1 second. Because it was really nice. I thought it was very, very well put together. Let me just pull this up. I hate my computer. It's really getting on my nerves. I don't know what is going on. 1 second.
It's falling down all over the country. Maybe the Chinese are activating
I,
uh,
I just need a new.
what they put in the computers.
It's lovely.
Tasteful.
Yeah, simple but elegant, very thought out, very detailed. And so
What's this other on the other side?
so this is last year under the Biden administrations,
Year before last.
year before last. This is their Christmas thing. know what? I kind of like. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was bad because it reminded me of a Broadway play.
I think that's horrible. Disclaimer: I hate plays, and I detest and despise musicals.
I know you do. So you wouldn't like it anyway, but
And it also, I think of all these boys in the chorus line sitting up there giggling, and the whole 9 yards worth of, really seriously, this is just strikes me as sort of a version of Take Your Booties to the Pole, what they were putting out sometime several couple of cycles ago on trying to get people to vote. And why some trannies spinning around a stripper's pole with their bare behinds flashing is supposed to encourage you to vote. I never could make the connection. And frankly, I don't either on this. Like, really? Seriously? There should be a little bit of dignity about the seat of government,
yeah. So okay, so and then also let's look at it to where
Ooh-wee.
Melania Christmas decorations, it's about patriotism, generosity, coming together, all that. And the Biden administration is like, let's have a party, glitter, colors, let's dance, let's sing.
Yeah, except I would not be in anything doing like this. I wouldn't want to go. So it's not anything that's attractive to me. It's not anything enticing to me. In fact, I find it repulsive. And
I do like the
it is
candy.
what it
I
is.
I do like the candy canes in the
I think
hallway.
it's too gaudy.
But is it too much for the White House?
I think it's just gaudy, period. That's why I don't like to go to these plays. I think it looks bad enough on stage. And what is that? Monkey see, monkey do, or something. It all looks a little spaced out to me.
Yeah, I think
And what is with the uniform bit? Is this supposed to be a takeoff on Nutcracker Suite or something?
no, it's like Toy Soldier.
Yeah, a takeoff on Nutcracker Suite or something like that, I guess. Toy soldiers. Yeah, let's play with it instead of being real about it. You were letting the Defense Department slide all to hell, and that thing in the blue simpering through there. What was that supposed to be? Some trans male or something that we're supposed to be emulating? I mean, come on now. We fought the red coats, so why do you have the red coated toy soldier in there? And what is this supposed to be?
I don't know.
It's like, come on.
Give me a second. I'm just I'm
See,
texting.
that's their administration. A whole lot of glitz and glam that I find rather tasteless. And that's what the Democrats are about. That's them. That is them. That is a synthesis of the Democratic Party. You're
Okay.
supposed to be wildly enthusiastic about what? Image, but no substance.
Ooh, great point. Great. And you know what? And I agree. That's exactly what it is. Image, but no substance. It's all about the optics, but no substance behind
Yeah, and especially failing if you don't like the optics. It's like, really?
it. Miss Pay, I see you, Miss Long. The guest is here. And somebody said it looks like a circus. Well, it's
It
like
is very much like a circus.
I
It's
just,
like a chorus line, for goodness sakes.
yeah, but that's what it is. The chorus, Broadway is the chorus line,
Yeah, I
and
know, but what is
the
that? I
Nutcracker.
mean,
And
compare Broadway to Shakespeare.
I'm sorry, the Nutcracker at Lincoln Center during Christmas holidays, beautiful. I love the
You may
Nutcracker.
think
The
so, I
ballet,
don't.
the
But I mean,
ballet. I took
just
my daughter.
disclaimer: I can't stand that stuff. It irritates me where somebody's supposed to be into a moment of drama and they break out in song. Like, oh, really?
Well, I went to the ballet. It was the ballet Nutcracker. It's beautiful.
Well, yeah, I had to sit through a couple of those in life. But one thing I'm just saying here, the United States is not a Broadway play.
I know that's right. I know. I know.
So why do they keep on insisting?
And that's
Every time you see a Democrat boost thing, they've got some folk out there line dancing in front of a polling place, or they've always got somebody breaking out in song. Nobody ever gives anything seriously, or even that some person that decided to go against me, what's his name, from Michigan, Mathis.
oh.
He sings in a choir, for goodness sake. I do Man Up and he does choir and Rainbow. But it's just crazy. What is this country coming to? So you're supposed to have something wrong with you because you understand how to take care of business, and when you party, you don't simper around looking like
Right.
you've got some issues.
Well, guys, I see the guests. I'm about to bring her on. And please, everybody, hit the like button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Share this video on your social media outlets. And I do have a goal. If you would like, if you have a question, comment, please, and then via super chat. It's highly appreciated. And everybody, shout out to everybody on X. Please like and repost on X as well. So let's bring in the guests. Hi.
Greetings. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, see you. Perfect. Hi,
Perfect.
this is
Hi.
Pamela.
Two
Denise,
thumbs up.
Pamela
Hi,
Denise
Judge Joe
Long.
Brown. Hi,
Hello,
ma'am.
ma'am.
How
How
are
are
you?
you?
I'm happy to be here. I love the conversation that you two were having, and I love your question about why can't Democrats be more serious and why can't Democratic voters expect more seriousness from the people who are supposed to represent them. Love it, love it, love it.
I
Thanks,
mean, it's
Dana,
a
for
great
having me.
effort bouncing around and all of this, that, and the other. It's what they do, but it doesn't get anybody in place. It doesn't solve the crime problem. It doesn't boost the economy. It
Right.
doesn't improve the educational system. It certainly doesn't improve the personal and collective character of the nation.
That part.
Well, I really appreciate you being here. And Miss Pamela Denise Long, you are running for Senate of U.S. Senate of the state of Illinois. So please
Yes.
introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah,
Yes.
so thank you both for having me on. I am so honored to have the conversation with you. So yes, my name is Pamela Denise Long. I am a former Newsweek contributor, had a column there for about 4 years or thereabouts, writing about immigration, the impacts of it on all Americans, also writing about what it takes for Black Americans to divorce the Democratic Party. I wasn't advocating for them to jump into a marriage with any other party, but Black Americans, like all other constituents, need to be at every seat of power. Why aren't we part of the Green Party, the Independent Party, the Libertarian Party, and the Republican Party? Let's see, Newsweek contributor, doing a lot of Twitter spaces on X, talking about lineage-based investment, what that looks like, having to frame up reparations, what that could look like in an Americans First policy agenda. I'm running for U.S. Senate here in the state of Illinois because I've had enough of the nonsense, kind of like what Judge Joe Brown was talking about. I'm looking for serious policies. I'm looking for people to make a commitment and deliver on the promises of when we talk about Americans first. I mean, all Americans first. I've been calling the Republican Party back to its 1854 roots, especially when I conducted a poll back in 2022 of some 250 thereabouts Black Americans who said they would absolutely vote for the Republican Party if the party were to remember what they were started for. I mean, our party was called the Negro Party because Democrats of that time didn't want to represent the interests of Black Americans. So I'm running to make policy real. To make Americans First policy make sense. We can be focused on our own citizens and be humane at the same time, but we have to get it done, and we don't have many years to make it happen.
Well said. And I put the link to her website in the chat. I'm gonna put it in the description. I want people to go support, donate. It's very important.
Yes, please.
Yes, a couple of policy priorities: economic growth, parental rights, sovereignty and border security, safety and criminal justice, protect and nurture life, solutions, not division. So the state of Illinois has been in the news for a while now, and is mainly because of the migrant crisis,
Yes.
particularly Chicago. Hot mess. So
Comment.
what is the state right now in the state of Illinois when it comes to the migrant crisis, all the way down to Chicago? What are they doing? Are they working with ICE to deport? Are the illegals still using benefits and resources of taxpayer dollars?
No, so such a great question. So the issue of funding illegal aliens over American citizens has been a big problem in the Black community in Chicago. Yes, the state of Illinois is a sanctuary state, and the city of Chicago has chosen, didn't have to be, but has chosen to be a sanctuary city. What that means is that the Democratic governor and the Democratic mayor have decided that they will use public funds in as much as they're able to support illegal immigrants who've come into the nation. Brandon Johnson, who's the mayor of Chicago, was called out by many Black Americans at City Hall about how Black Americans were denied access to their own facilities. So we're talking about high schools, we're talking about community centers, and they use those places to house illegal immigrants. And so there's a tone deafness that is happening at the state and local level in Chicago and in the state of Illinois. I think our governor basically said that when it came to people protesting illegal immigration, he said he had never called for mass demonstrations until ICE was coming to Chicago. So he didn't call for it when that sister was shot in the eye he hasn't called for it when Black Americans have been shooting each other, Black folks have been shooting each other up on the weekends, but he called for mass demonstrations when it came to people exercising our basically control of our borders in Chicago. And I think that people are hungry for new leadership. The question is, will people get up and go vote for it?
And you're running against a Democrat. Is this a already seated senator?
So here's the fun part about that, Dana. There are 22 people running for this seat. I'm running for the seat vacated by Dick Durbin via his retirement. Dick Durbin has been in office for, I think, 15 terms overall. There are about 13 Democrats who are running, so they'll duke it out during the primary, and whoever that person is the general. I'm against 6 to 8 Republicans. A couple of those make it on the ballot. I am the only one who has been advocating for Americans First policy for years. I'm also the only person who has a plan to fold Democrats, disaffected Democrats, and independents into my policy programs. I'm running on an all Americans First agenda. And what that means is I am able to and have proposed policies that do address the needs of all Americans, whether they be in the rural, suburban, or urban environments and across races. And I'm also the only candidate who, including Democrats, who's fighting for lineage-based investment. So as you know, everybody can be a minority nowadays, and they shoehorn themselves into Negro civil rights. People fly over here from a country that they ain't never been over here, and suddenly they're competing with us for our set-asides and whatnot. And I want to put an end to that. And ultimately, I want to close the issue of what Black Americans have been advocating for in terms of lost wealth and whatnot, by making sure we redirect half of minority to the people it was intended for. And that's legacy Black Americans, whether we be FBA, ADOS, Freedmen, whatever your preferred moniker is. I'm talking about those of us who are descendants of the founding Black population. And that could end up saving our nation $50 trillion in about 40 years if we redirect half of that money in an investment way, in a seed capital way, rather than just small checks that folks would get.
Before I swing it to the
If I might offer you a talking point when you're talking about sanctuary cities, the federal law that pertains to the subject is Title 8, Section 1324. Title 8, Section 1324. Write it down. It's been on the books for quite some time. It's a lengthy code section, United States Codes Annotated, USCA. It's abbreviated. Title 8, Section 1324. It makes setting up a sanctuary city a criminal act. There is no excuse or no defense that someone holds an official position. It's criminal. I defended people 45 years ago charged with the offense. It was in a different context, but it's the same set of laws. So when somebody is advocating sanctuary cities where they give aid, comfort, advice, transportation, food, clothing, shelter, prevent or interfere with their apprehension, detention, and deportation, that is a criminal act. When they agree to do it, it becomes a conspiracy, which is a very serious felony under American criminal law. So you have a talking point, and when you get to the U.S. Senate chambers, you can advocate that someone do something about enforcing that law. And
I love
some
that.
people who are governors and mayors, and if they advocate outside of the congressional environment, if they seek to implement it, it doesn't make any difference what their official position is. It's criminal. So
No, I love that.
And it, by the way, it carries about 5 years minimum in a federal penitentiary. Well, some minor aspects have a 5-year cap. That's that's 60 months. 56 would be served in a federal penitentiary. So that's a talking point. So you're not just doing mega. If you have one of those sensitive audiences, it's a United States Codes Annotated Title 8, Section 1324. And
got it. I
just
love
look
it.
it up. You can read some of it. It's very interesting. And by the way, I did post on X, but they suspended me. They said I was a bot.
So are you getting your account back?
I finally, after a month and a half, got the appellate process, which the one they were talking about, you start here and then you go around the circle and you wind up right back there and you keep going around and get nowhere. Finally, I got a form that they posted under my account on X. I can still read it, but I can't post anything or like anything. And I think that was the objective. I think Mr. Musk got somebody in place to run stuff, and she's letting some of the algorithms run again.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, the
I want
silencing is really something I've experienced that as well. And I think that what's really important is us to be able to connect offline. What really matters is for us to be able to change people's hearts and minds, to be focused on education, which I know you've been focused on, Judge, which is one of the things I admire about you, and Dana, you as well with YouTube. So that's why it's important to have multiple platforms. And I am on Twitter, on Facebook. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on YouTube. If you Google, you'll find my interviews. You'll find my column from Newsweek and the like. And then, Dana, I see you have my campaign website up there as well. So we have to have multiple ways to connect.
May I make a suggestion to you, and you might want
Yes,
to
ma'am.
incorporate it into your campaigning? They need to revert to the older requirements of news reporting, where there was what they call fairness in reporting. If you badmouth somebody, then that person got a freebie opportunity to reply.
Oh, now see, that's an interesting approach. I know they were trying to do that fairness doctrine.
They had it up until 1982. It was darn near universal, but it got wiped out. So now the news outlets have become very partisan and very biased and very far away from being objective. And in fact, there are situations where it's gotten so bad that they won't even accept the advertising dollars from some candidates because they don't like what you're about. So they selectively destroy the intent of the First Amendment being something to keep the American public informed and advised and on top of the arguments and fine points of a position.
I will say so let's talk a little bit about the policy priorities that I'd like to implement. One of which is, I think it is absolutely wrong to use propaganda against the American public. And I would like to see that changed in public policy. I know that that is one of the laws or rules or regulations that came out. I would also like to make sure that when it comes to immigration, what we were talking about before, that there is accountability for the folks who have implemented sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, because there are several. I think I've identified 6, and in addition to the ones that Judge mentioned here, to hold people mean that elected officials will go to jail unless they are found guilty of something significant. But what it does mean is we can't allow people to decide that they're going to agree amongst themselves to subvert federal authority over immigration, because the Supreme Court has already ruled that the federal government has jurisdiction over immigration policies. Another thing that I would like to do that I'm so pleased to see the president proposing is an elimination of the income tax. I think we need to revisit how we fund government services. I'm all for a social safety net. If something happens to me or to you and you need support during that short period of time where you're unable to be independent on your own, we definitely want the social safety net, but I would definitely support an elimination of the income tax. And there are other things I'd like to do related to education. I mean, my first career is in occupational therapy. I have a master's in educational psychology. Are you an OT as well?
No, but I am a licensed massage therapist, and I was going to go to OT, but yeah, I ain't feel like going to get my master's. But yeah, I work with a lot of OT, so I think they're wonderful. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. So, and my master's is in educational psychology. I wanted to work in organizational learning and change. I had the mastery of the individual level intervention being an OT. I wanted to work at the systems level. So I taught at Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville, which is in the St. Louis area, downstate where I am. And then my doctorate is in organizational development. So I nerd out when it comes to like designing interventions, designing systems, looking at implementation process and all that kind of stuff. So when Elon Musk and all of his Doge team were thinking about efficiency and effectiveness, that just made my heart happy. And I think there's more that we can do from a government level to cut spending if we look at where our money is actually going at programs that are effective or ineffective, and sort of manage government in a way that actually treats it as if we're dealing with someone else's money and show some respect in doing so. So fiscal responsibility.
One thing I'd like to add to your mix, if you choose to use it. I think when you're talking about the immigration factor, these open borders allow Hamas, ISIS, and
For sure.
Al Qaeda to walk across the border with things that would obviate their need to hijack airliners and repeat 911,
Mm.
but do what they do on a much larger scale. They don't have B-52s, B-1s, or B-2 bombers to go assault the United States in retaliation, but they can walk, or they were able to walk across the border with military-grade explosives and unchecked backpacks for
Well,
Yeah.
4 years.
I want
Yeah, I
to.
believe one of the caucuses actually identified the number of folks who've been arrested at the southern border, particularly that terror watch that was on the terror watch list. So definitely we need that we have operational control of our border, which is from the 2006 Secure Fence Act. So I agree with you on the homeland security element of that for sure.
And the other thing too,
I
this
missed my class.
resistance to law and order, what kind of somebody would like death and theft in the streets of their constituent cities just to thwart Donald Trump? You know?
Well, Donald Trump triggers people in a way that nothing else can of late. So
Well, I want to ask you about your agenda because you have economic growth, parental rights, immigration, and secure the borders. We were just talking about that, safety and criminal justice, strong men and boys, and health and well-being. So strong men and boys. Why do you put that there?
So I think there are ways in which we heavily invested in women. I'm a woman, I raised a woman, and I love it, right? I wouldn't take any of that back. But I think there are ways that we've left men behind. We invested a lot in women's education. We're at a point now where Black women are demographically the more likely to start a business, but also receive or pursue higher education than their Black male counterparts, but also men in general. There are ways in which most white men and most Black men have a high school diploma or less. That's leaving them out of STEM fields. And that harkens back to the immigration element where we've invested in the technological development of other demographics and not our own men. And so I think there are ways that the liberal sort of approach to thinking about gender has also made masculinity toxic. They've framed it as being toxic. And I think we need more strong masculine men who have a mission and a purpose and a vision. And while, I'm not skilled at being a man because I'm not one, I definitely am collaborating with men in the state of Illinois of all ages and all demographics about what does it mean and what does it look like to invest in men and boys in a way that strengthens them in order to strengthen communities, in order to strengthen families. And so it's a conversation that they're animated about because they feel a need for it. And I'd love to hear the judges' thoughts on that as well.
Well, basically, it's this. For the last 50 some years, they've had a take your daughter to work week, but they've never had one take your son to work week. And also, these stats are from 2011, where the Defense Department did some white papers on it, and I think you would be able to access them. It seems that on average, for the first 11 years of this century, and the stats have remained pretty constant since then, only 28% of each year's high school graduates are male. Only 32% of the college undergraduates are male, and only 36% of the grad students in the United States are male. And this is the bad one, only 44% of the American workforce is male. So something's gone badly wrong with the patterns that are out there. And the other thing I'd say is this: I have yet to experience the report of a criminal case where girls did a drive-by.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and so that evinces yet another need to invest in men and have them have a stronger, more pro-social, so to speak, purpose for themselves. And I don't want to give the impression that everyone has to go to college, right? There's something beautiful and very necessary, and somebody, being your husband, being able to do your plumbing, right, or being able to weld and all of that. The point is, how do you invest in men that they actually feel that they are? There's nothing wrong with a woman who has a master's degree marrying a man who is a welder or have a welding company or whatever the case may be. So I don't want to give the impression of being elitist that everybody has to have a college diploma, but I want people to have a purpose that is rooted in these pillars of communities, family stability, and children who also grow up to be reasonable adults who don't wear their pajamas to the airport. Can I say that?
Well, if I could say this,
I heard that.
I handled a lot of divorces before I got into being a jurist. And even 35, 40 years ago, it really was stressful to a marriage when the woman's academic achievements far exceeded those of her husband. Those working relationships did not settle in well because somebody is interested in this stuff over here that makes them tick, and somebody's got something over there that makes them tick, and they kind of clash. And there's usually somebody in there that's saying, why don't you just be down to earth and use plain language? Well, that might be nice, except plain language is sometimes not as expressive. But I will say this, Musk and some others have been doing research, and I jumped into it 2 or 3 months ago, and it looks like real AI based on large language models is going to pretty much make some of the trades obsolete inside the next decade, decade and a half. So the problem is if you're not staying on top of it, you might find your job taken over. And in China, they actually have humanoid robotics that they are implementing to do those things, sort of like Asimov and his robot series.
I
But
want to ask you a question that you have on your agenda. It was parental rights.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I think that's a good thing, but
that I like about that. That's important. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so a few things. One, there are ways in which schools have gotten things all twisted up. Schools are supposed to be supports to the parent, who is our primary educator. There are ways that parents send their children to school without adequate verbal expression to communicate their preferences and non-preferences. There are ways that some parents send their children to school without adequate vocabulary and literacy. Like I remember, we grew up poor, right? But I remember me being drilled by my grandmother, who did not graduate high school, on my ABCs and my times tables and all of that kind of stuff. So there's that. We need to get it back to where parents are the child's primary educator and stop making it so that teachers are supposed to do magic with children who aren't even doing their homework, right? So there's that bit. There's also this deal that's been happening where schools are transing children without parent consent. But even if you are a parent consenting to your child being trans, I need to better understand like what is going on with that, because the idea that 3 of your children are transgender is like, what's the math on the likelihood that something's actually not wrong with you as a parent versus your children naturally being confused so much about their gender. So there's that element. I don't think that children who are under the age of 18 should be transitioned, certainly not on puberty blockers. There are ways in which the idea of puberty blockers not being permanent, or some of the other things not having a potentially permanent effect, were not true. So there's a lot happening with the whole trans and other movements that's happening at schools that I think parents should be able to make decisions. I don't think you should be able to transport a woman's child, a man's child, a family's child across borders to get an abortion as their educator. I think the decisions that parents should able to make. I'm pro-life. I make no apologies for that. I am keenly abortion movement started as an outcropping of eugenics. I am keenly aware too that the person leading Planned Parenthood is the grandchild of the woman who founded it based on eugenics. I'm keenly aware that most abortion clinics are in the Black American community. I'm keenly aware that more Black children have been aborted than been born. That is one of the reasons, not the only, but one of the reasons that our population has gone from the second largest population and thus political power base in the nation, because we have killed more children than we have birthed.
Have you ever considered possible legislation on a federal level to have it just absolutely prohibited to do any sex change alterations in minors
Yes.
as child abuse?
Yes, absolutely. I think and I also judge. So, as a healthcare practitioner, we take an oath to do least harm, right? There are ways that the gender movement has not looked at the mental health concerns of the people who feel that they are trapped in their own bodies, some of whom have autism and other pervasive developmental delays that interfere with their ability to be comfortable within themselves in general. The Tavistock Center, which was a huge gender clinic in the UK, after they got shut down, one of the reasons they got shut down is because it was revealed that they were prohibited from talking about the mental health concerns of these youth. They also didn't talk to the youth about if they had been molested or abused, which is also a contributing factor for why survivors don't want to be associated with the body that was sexually molested. So my approach is to address all of those various constituent groups under the trans umbrella. And then, Judge, and Dana, that there are men who simply enjoy seeing themselves as women, autogyneal, and those things, all those different groups are not the same. So why would we treat them as the same? Yes, I am 100% against transing children or anyone really without understanding the mental health and other background demographic or historical information that's contributed to their confusion.
So we have
About 3 years ago up in Nashville, this guy went berserk and shot up a school and killed 6 people, 3 adults and 3 students. And there's a thing going on right now. A sister who's a chancellor in Nashville is trying to force this conservative reporter to reveal his source, which turns out to be allegedly a cop who let him photocopy the manifesto of the shooter. And in it, he allegedly reveals that he was extremely angered that these people at this school tried to encourage him to transition to something else. And he says he was a child. They should have known better, that he did not know better and should have talked him out of it instead of trying to encourage him. So in his rage, he goes back and shoots up the school and he dies in the process. So that's one of these things that they try to hide. But you're talking about the parental thing. I just don't like the idea of, like, Waltz. We were talking about Waltz earlier. He signed off on some stuff in Minnesota that allows the school basically to take over the parental role when it comes to this kind of deviant sexuality. And one other thing I'd ask you to consider, for whatever it's worth, I've been speaking on this at some length for several years. What we have with LGBTQIA is a coalition. It's not a solid one because there's that LBG
Lesbian,
thing,
gay,
lesbian,
bi,
and gay, versus that transsexual and all that pedophilia stuff, which they don't like. And I might urge upon you, when you get elected,
I like that.
to have somebody take a good look at applying the same rules that have been applied to keep organized religion out of schools, public schools.
Well, that's interesting.
The same factors apply when you're talking about LGBTQIA plus, meaning the rainbow cult. It's a theology, and it's spread all through certain states' government buildings, rainbow stuff all up and down the hallways. You can't put a cross, a star, crescent, six-armed Shiva, or an image of Buddha in there, but you can put the rainbow in, and you can teach the children this 5, 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, from kindergarten through 12th grade, whereas you can't teach religion, you see. So you're getting a cult pushed, which becomes more than just a sexual thing. It becomes a way of life with an approach to logic, reasoning, analytical capacity, duty, honor, courage, bravery, and saying none of these things are important. Just do what you want and forget the rest of the people you'd otherwise have a compact with. And if you want to understand how it's really a religion, think of Buddhism. It's an ancient and honorable religion. It's a theology, but there's no Godhead to it. You can have a God or not have a God and be a devout Buddhist. Whatever God you have is yours. And that's the same thing with the rainbow cult. It is just like Buddhism in a different kind of way, but there is no Godhead to it. But just like Buddhism, it is in fact a theology, a very strong theology, but it's negativism. And unlike every other theology, instead of promoting those things that are pretty universal in human character about duty, honor, obligation, accountability, responsibility, courage, bravery, integrity, dependability, it's saying ours is we have none of that. Let's get rid of it so the children don't need to work. They feel entitled. They are supposed to be taken care of. There are no consequences. Crime is good, and all of these other things. So
Well, Judge, I
why do we
definitely,
allow this cult to be taught in our schools and plastered all over our government buildings, and nobody does anything to repress it or keep it in check? Just like 50 years ago, you had that God is dead thing because no religion in the schools or the government.
I
But
would
now you
definitely
got
like
one.
I would definitely like to get back to some basics in education. We need to teach children how to read. We need to make sure parents are sending children ready to respect authority and make sure that that authority is honorable and worthy of respect. We need to get back to reading, writing, arithmetic, and respect. So how about the 4 R's for me?
I like that.
Right.
That sounds good.
I have some
And no
questions.
theft and death in the streets.
I have
So,
Exactly.
one second, Judge.
and
Wait, one
something
second.
else
Let me
too.
wait 1 second. Hold that. I have a couple questions that people sent in. Wanted to ask you, and thank you guys. Jackals of Tara Argentum says, question for the senator. Equity firms like BlackRock own 22 to 30% of U.S. residential real estate. The primary investor in these firms are China's intelligence services. What can be done about this huge
National security issue. Absolutely. It is a national security issue. It needs to be addressed as such. I know Florida a bit of a model when it comes to looking at who the properties are when those are close to secure or vulnerable national security assets. I frankly do not. So this is a hard thing because we're a capitalist society. So we try not to get too much into restrictions of profit and what people can do. I do think, though, that this potentially raises to an infringement on life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness because the prices are raising so much that our next generation can't afford to buy a home. And we have a large number of, 30 somethings even who are living with their parents now. So I would host investigations into the impacts of this and look at what we can do without compromising, without overly interfering in business processes, but definitely looking at foreign agencies owning property and large corporations buying up farmland and housing such that it prices beyond what is reasonable.
I have another question. One second, Judge. Another question. Wait, hold on for a second. One
Yes.
second, Judge. One second. So the other question is, Ms. Long, what do you think about elected officials accepting funds from these NGOs
That aren't based in America? I don't know that we can. Dana, did
or
we lose your
lobbying on behalf
audio?
of other countries? Would you support a bill to stop it? You can hear me, right?
I can now. I think we lost your voice for a second.
No,
there.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. I understand where the question is coming from. And everyone who donates to your campaign is looking for something. And depending on how much, they are expecting you to deliver something. So any foreign agency that is donating to an American official is looking out for the interests of that foreign government and or corporation. I am an Americans First candidate, point blank, period. So people who are donating to me can expect that I'm going to use my funds in order to get elected and to implement Americans First policies. I think that every agency that is advocating on the interest of a foreign government should be registered as an agency advocating on the interest of a foreign government. And that is already in law. And it should be enforced so that every agency advocating on the interest of a foreign government should be registered.
You know something? When you
Yes,
get
sir.
in, take a look at the transcriptions of the 3 Hunter Biden laptops. There's some things that are tagged in. It's not just one, it's 3. I've read the downloads, the transcripts. They're interesting. Another thing, if I might suggest to you, take a look at China's website. It's huge, but they give a big explanation for a lot of what they're doing. And they have an interesting point in there, which is they are attempting to control 20% of the stock in the large companies, 35% sometimes. And what they're attempting to do is stabilize our stock exchanges and our currency because they think that the world being dependent, it's too easy to set the whole world into a mass depression with some of the irresponsible things that our Wall Street bunch do or don't do. And they've taken it upon themselves, they say in their presentation, that they feel compelled to do this to stabilize the stock exchanges and the currencies of Japan and the United States and the Euro Union because there is a lack of an effective legislative set because the American legislators know so little about the subject that they aren't actually able to control it. So the Chinese are saying on their
They're doing us a
website
favor.
that
Got it.
they're doing, not us, they're doing the whole world a favor because they don't want a worldwide depression to come about. And they are doing essentially, hey, look, we don't want you doing this. Who do you think you are? Well, go check out the following, and you might see that a very large holding of stock in your company or your conglomerate is, guess who's talking to you?
Well, listen, I definitely want you to come back on a platform. The election is next year in November, correct?
Actually, so this is the deal. We're in the primary right now. And St. Patrick's
Okay.
Day March 17th, 2026 is when people will go to vote for the Democrat or the Republican. I am asking people to pull the Republican primary ballot and vote for me for US Senate. If I don't make it past the primary, I never make it to the general. So one person from each party, from the Democrat and Republican, will move on to the general. So I'm asking folks to pull the Republican primary and vote for me. I'm Americans First. You can check me out. I've been advocating for these policies for years. I am focused on a lineage-based investment for Black Americans. For those who followed me on X, you know that I've been talking about what lineage-based investment looks like, and that is that redirecting half of minorities funding already being spent toward legacy Black Americans in order to address the deprivations that have happened, and also to cut federal spending over time. Fewer people dependent upon the government means the government needs to spend fewer dollars in social supports and, you know, people having productive ways of living and all the other things related to that. Folks can find that on my website. When you click on the issues tab in the top menu, you'll see a list of about 8 to 10 things, including housing, health and well-being, and other things that I've laid out solidly there. And I'm happy to talk with anyone about any questions. My email is on the website, my phone number is on the website. And I love the invitation to come back. I really enjoyed the conversation. And Judge, I appreciate all the
you
advice
back.
and I took notes. Well, thank you.
Well,
I
also,
appreciate
well,
it. Thank
let's
By the way, you're very articulate, much
you.
more so than the typical senatorial candidate that I've encountered.
Wow, that
And by
says a
that,
lot.
well, it shows you're a doctor, you know,
Mhm.
so you have a facility with the English language and coherent, organized, rational, reasonable, and logical thinking,
Well, what
I'm
I
going to
want you
need
to
you to
which
do
put
is
is,
that in writing
impressive.
as a
Mhm.
recommendation, Judge.
What I want you to do is come back next month in January, and even in February. So, you know, because if people don't live in Illinois, right, of
Mhm.
course they can't vote for you, but what can people throughout this nation do to
Yes.
support you?
If you don't live in Illinois, call someone that you know who does and let them know about me. Share my website with them. If you don't live in Illinois, you can volunteer to phone bank for my campaign, which would be to call people to let them know about Z. If you don't live in Illinois, you can donate to my campaign. We will need lots of donations in order to get the message out. I live downstate, so I do a lot of traveling around the state. I put 40,000 miles on my car in the last, 8-9 months of campaigning. So I'm always moving around the state, getting to know voters. If you don't live in Illinois, but you know people who are in media like Dana and the judge and other folks who I would be able to come and have conversations with them so that people start to recognize my name as candidate for U.S. Senate, that would all be beneficial. If you know any folks who work in government who I should maybe get to know who would be willing to endorse me, folks who are in business, who are Greek letter orgs, who are other folks who would be able to endorse, all of those things would be helpful. So the more people who know my name, the more voters who know my name, and the more people in government, politics, and business who know my name, all the better for us being able to win the primary on St. Patrick's Day and then go on to win the general in November of 2026.
Well, thank you so
I
much.
would suggest you talk to Gloria Zervine,
Hmm.
who runs Pace magazine out of Los Angeles. She gets around the country and people subscribe to it. I think you two would do good to do a hookup, and she, I think, would probably push you because right now, I think you're probably running into resistance in Illinois when it comes to getting your message out. Or am I
Well,
wrong about that?
I think I am a very different Republican than some of the conservative Republicans are used to. But I think I'm the kind of Republican that the land of Lincoln used to have and the kind of Republican that we need going forward. So, yes, there's resistance, but there are also some people who are very energized. So, getting the message out is always appreciated. Can we connect in the back channel so that Gloria knows
Yes, I
how?
was
Perfect.
gonna
Yeah,
provide. I was
I will
gonna, with
exchange
your permission,
numbers.
I'd get the
All
number,
right.
but
So yeah, I'll do
she'll
that.
bring it.
I'm definitely going to send you his number thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank
Definitely
you. Thank you.
have
Thank you.
back on next month. And I want people to go to the website and support. That's longforsenate2026.com. The link is in the chat. The link is in the description. Donate, because that's very important. And volunteer and get the word out. So thank you so much, Miss Pamela Denise
ma'am.
Long. Mrs.
Appreciate
or
it.
I don't want to.
Miss, MS.
MS.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
so
Denise.
Miss Pamela Denise Long. I appreciate you. Looking forward to have you come on next month again, and then I want you to come on again in February too.
Yes,
And then right
all the
before
days.
election. Yes, so definitely have to get it out there. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank y'all.
it.
Have a good night.
All right, you
Hey, I enjoyed it. I think you're going
Oh,
far.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Judge Show. That means a lot to me.
2 thumbs up.
Awesome.
All right, have a good night.
Bye.
I like her.
That was nice.
Yeah, she's fair, and honestly, she sounds more like a statesman, and that is what's needed. That is
Yeah,
what's needed.
she's articulate, and it's good to hearing somebody that's made an analysis of it and is not just caught up into the emotional frou-frou, the Broadway play aspect.
Well, I want us to swing back to Trump, and I want to go into Ilhan Omar. Guys, please. Oh, let me do this because this is very important here. Thank you so much to AAA Finity LLC for the lovely, lovely donations. Thank you. I really appreciate you. I want to get back into Trump versus Ilhan Omar, right? Briefly talk about that because her ass is about to be deported. She's about to be deported, and Trump is coming down heavy on the Somalis, and he should. So I want to play a couple of clips here.
The people from different countries that are not friendly to us, and countries that are out of control themselves. Countries like Somalia that have virtually no government, no military, no police. All they do is go around killing each other. Then they come into our country and tell us how to run our country. We don't want them.
What are you talking?
You got to talk up.
She said how many countries? Is there a list?
Well, I guess we gave you 19, right? And it's probably more than that.
Is that what you mean when you mean third world countries, those 19?
No, I don't think they're all third world, but in many cases they are third world. They're not good countries. They're very crime-ridden countries. They're countries that don't do a good job. They're countries that don't register from the standpoint of success. And we, frankly, don't need their people coming into our country telling us what to do.
When you talk about denaturalization,
I'm talking about like Somalia, where you have a congressman goes around telling everybody about our Constitution, and yet she supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother. Well, if that's true, she shouldn't be a congressman, and we should throw her the hell out of our country.
And this is
I think that's hyperbole. If she's been sworn in as a citizen by a federal judge, there's not much you can do to undo it. But it's an expressive point.
Well, if she's brought up on some charges, that could undo it.
No, it can't.
Okay, so let me play this clip here.
Yeah, it won't.
Also asking Congresswoman Craig to initiate an ethics investigation into Congresswoman Omar because of questions about federal tax fraud, federal immigration fraud, federal student loan fraud, and state violations of perjury, bigamy, kickbacks, and acts of campaign fraud abuse in Boston, Washington, New York, Chicago, and Florida. There are also violations of state ethics or of the Minnesota House ethics rules regarding colleges for speeches she gave while she was in partial control of their budgets as a member of the House Higher Education Finance Committee in both 2017 and 2018. She was found guilty of the violations by the Minnesota Campaign Finance Board 3 weeks ago in order to return those funds on June 6th. Ms. Omar appears to be a serial career criminal and should not have access to our nation's highest secrets and intelligence. That is why I'm calling on our Congresswoman Angie Craig to protect both our national security and our respect of the rule of law. Tax fraud, immigration fraud, student loan fraud, perjury, bigamy, kickbacks, and campaign abuse fraud from the East Coast to the Mississippi River. If those charges have been...
So, and this is her.
I mean, I have no worry. I don't know how they take away my citizenship and like deport me, but I don't even know like why that's such a scary threat. Like, I'm not the 8-year-old who escaped war anymore. I'm grown. My kids are grown. Like, I can go live wherever I want.
And she can, because she's worth $20 to $30 million.
You know what? Once you take that oath, you can't strip somebody of their citizenship. You just can't strip it. You can put them in jail for criminal activity, but you can't deport them because they're citizens of the United States. Do you swear to uphold the Constitution, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? You do that, you're in. I mean,
so what
that's
is
been a long. I mean,
so
see,
even if you got your citizenship under fraudulent circumstances by marrying your brother?
well, that's not the whole thing. The thing is, she was administered to the oath and sworn in, and whether or not all of that is fraudulent, you got to go through a whole lot to prove that. And you just can't send somebody over without their due process of law, even if it's a civil due process matter. So, yeah. And trying to prove that in court and get the witnesses in there to assemble and do it.
So what would they have to do?
Well, the point is not really a mechanism to undo making somebody a citizen. They just become part. It's like, can you undo being born here?
Okay, so, but she wasn't born here, but.
Well, I mean, it may be fraudulent, but somebody.
They can't revoke her citizenship.
That's not really going to happen. It's more of a talking point where it's awful and it becomes a political matter, because what they're talking about here is stuff that Congress can take action upon.
Well, what about, can she be stripped of being a congresswoman?
That's up to Congress. They did it and ejected Adam Clayton Powell twice. He was ejected. His constituency reelected him and returned him, and he was not allowed to be seated. Congress can refuse to seat someone, or they can impeach someone.
Oh, Congress can impeach another congressperson.
Mm-hmm.
So then,
or they can refuse to seat the person or eject them.
What does that mean?
That means you aren't in the Congress anymore. They refuse to seat you.
Seat you in Congress, whether it's the House or the Senate.
Yes.
So it says here, right? This is Benny Johnson clip. Donald Trump confirmed that Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar committed immigration fraud and married her brother. It says Minnesota Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey. While the worst congresswoman in our country, Ilhan Omar, always wrapped in her swaddle hijab, and who probably came into the country illegally, and that you are not allowed to marry your brother, does nothing but hatefully complain about our country, its constitution, and how badly she's been treated. I guess this is a quote from Trump. Let me hear what they're saying.
Yeah. Because I got like I'll break a little news on this. I'm pretty close with a lot of people at Homeland Security, and allegedly there's a considerable amount, demonstrable amounts of evidence that the government has that proves this. And perhaps they're like trying to figure out which way to go around it. I know it's got to be a touchy issue, obviously, you know. But what do you say to this, Congresswoman?
A little too touchy for family, but you know, in Congress, it's going to be really difficult to have a real investigation like we should. Look, Nancy Mace bravely put a privileged resolution on the floor condemning the remarks made by Ilhan Omar. And Ilhan Omar was trying to troll everyone in the process leading up to the vote. And she just simply wanted to censure her. She said you should not be on the Foreign Affairs Committee with the rhetoric that you have, and then of course it went against our Congressional Code of Ethics that we agree to when we are signed in as members of Congress, and we
you have a code of ethics. You have a code of ethics that says you can't marry your brother.
You know, that might need to be put in, but we definitely have a code
I think that's in the Bible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Our Bible.
Yes.
And anyway, you had Republicans block that. You had Republicans table this motion, maybe some making excuses for the First Amendment. The First Amendment doesn't protect you from consequences. And when you have a code of ethics that you are using your office to absolutely defy, there needs to be accountability there. And, you know, maybe some were just covering their own backs to keep other stories down. I don't know the reasons why people were voting to table this motion, but to have an actual investigation, I don't know if we have a strong enough Republican Party at this time to actually commit to that and get it done. But this is someone who absolutely should be investigated. I think she should be sitting in prison or at least sent back to Somalia, rather than George Santos being put in solitary confinement for telling a fib, years back. This is, that was gross that he was expelled from Congress, and the charges that he got. I'm advocating for Santos's pardon, and I would much rather see Ilhan Omar having consequences for her conduct rather than him.
That's a good point, because Santos, yeah, he was found guilty on fraud and stripped of his position and put in prison. So if she's found guilty,
what is the crime?
It's they're saying campaign fraud, tax fraud, immigration fraud.
Okay, well, if they convict her of those things, then they can proceed against her for impeachment purposes and remove her from the office. But they have to get the convictions first. See, there's a problem if you try to go at these before you get a conviction and you start running into an interesting problem. What do you have to say about so and so? Respectfully, I decline to answer. I stand on my Fifth Amendment rights in line that may tend to incriminate me. So, that's that Ollie North thing we were talking about earlier. When we were talking about Fannie Willis and not being roasted by the Georgia State Legislative Committee. So she may still be subject to that. I think Trump still hadn't been in office for a whole year yet. And there's plenty of time, but in Georgia, maybe they are holding up on the political aspect of it, and somebody in the midst of everything is putting together the material to present to a grand jury to get an indictment. And they don't want to ruin the case by any political grandstanding.
I think that was it on Illhan then. Okay, I have some other clips here. Give me a second. I want to play this clip here of this woman, because I really do like what she was saying.
I am of the opinion as a black person exceeding half a century, from the Midwest, Los Angeles County, San Bernardino County, Riverside County, I have a broad experience of black and white relations. I am not of the opinion that there is systemic racism. In the words of James Brown, for those of you who remember him, he says, I don't need y'all to give me nothing. Get out the way and I'll get it myself. We don't need equity. I don't need you to take anything from anybody to give to me. I am an autodidact. Many black people are. I'm concerned that all of this empathy, and pardon me for saying so, are the liberal white women. We don't need your help. Your help is harmful. Your empathy is causing too much division, too many problems. Step aside, take care of your own. Leave us alone. We can raise our children. We can educate them about our history. For anybody that's concerned about black history and what we know and our self-esteem, we invented many things Americans use. So have LGBTQ people. It's irrelevant what your skin color is, what your sexuality is. I'm going to repeat what I said with respect to racism and bullying and feeling less than. Some things are private issues. They belong at home in the bedroom. When you bring certain things out to the public square, your insecurities. Thank you, Anita. Thank you. Okay. Now, with respect to the other issue, I think I counted 159 items for the commemorative calendar. This speaks to empathy gone amok. Empathy becomes stupidity when you do things like that. Okay, trying to appease everybody. Empathy becomes stupidity when you tell a boy he can be a girl because he puts on a dress. That's not empathy. That's not love because it's not truthful. We can speak the truth in love. And to my LGBTQ neighbors, with respect to these dates and commemorations, Pride Month, I showed up at the human relations thing. I was told to get out because I was from the ARC Church. I think they're disingenuous when they say they want to communicate and talk and be heard. I think you want to compel speech. You want to dominate our agency. That's not going to happen. We can live here cohesively. I'm willing to dialogue and get some understanding from you. But you have to understand, you're not going to tell me what to do. You're not going to compel my speech. You're not going to take my agency. We can live here together cohesively with understanding and unity. We did that when it was homosexuals, gays, and bisexuals. The TQs, y'all went just stone crazy. We can't even relate to you guys. You guys think the whole world revolves around you and everybody needs to do what you tell us to do. That's outrageous. So please, if you're serious about living in unity and wanting some human relations, wanting some respect, some dignity, have the courage and the respect. The two counselors had no respect. They even admitted it.
Thank you, Anita.
Thank you.
So I like what she said.
It's okay.
Because she touched on a lot. You know, she touched on how white liberal women they could be a problem, and they can be. You know, they do more harm than good. It's like, yes, I'm black and I'm proud, but you know, it's not about handouts. It's about really get out of my way so I could do what I got to do for me, my family, my community. And then
Yeah, well,
the
I've always
LGBT.
had that thing, and that wasn't James Brown that came up with that. He was parroting what by then was a 4-year-long thing. This was about 1969 when he came out with that number. And that had been out since about 65. Just get the hell out of the way and we do it ourselves. Black power. In other words, right now, the woke folk have completely forgotten about black power. They're talking about white supremacy holding the black students down. But I don't recall ever being in anybody's house and seeing a white supremacist sitting on the other side of the kitchen table while their children are supposedly doing the homework on the opposite side and somebody holding them down. And so I don't recall anybody saying do it. I hear I recall that a lot. Let me rephrase that. I don't recall anybody in my generation being told you can't do it, give up. There's no point in it. Somebody's going to hold you back. no matter what you do, you're going to be held back. No, that isn't quite what we got. It's like it's going to be rough, it's tough, but you can do it.
Right.
But they don't do that anymore.
No, it's a lot of excuses. People, and she said it, people, people think that, well, she didn't, but I'm just saying, people think that things should just be given to them, handed to them. If you do rely on the government, that's not good. You want less government in your life.
And people brag about it. I'm getting a check. Yeah, man, I got it. Would you get a check? What's wrong with you? You got disability, man?
Some people do.
No, I mean, but these folk I'm talking about, they don't have a disability. I think there needs to be a limit on it. And if you're able-bodied, there ought to be a work requirement for it.
Well, Trump changed that.
WPA, Works Progress Administration, build roads, clean up the
Well,
highways
Trump changed
type
the
thing.
SNAP requirements. You have to, if you are over 18 and you don't have kids, you have to work 80 hours a month or something like that. It's a whole bunch of new requirements now.
Well, Tennessee does not have any public assistance for able-bodied males over 18. In other words, you have to have children in order to get any public assistance. If you don't, if you're not disabled, you got to work.
Right. But see, and here's another thing I wanted to point out, because
this is federally and food stamps.
This was basically at a school district board meeting. And that's why it is very important for people to attend school board meetings, especially if you are a parent, and voice your concerns, because your tax dollars is paying for the education and all these people's salaries that work for the school board, and you want to know, where's the money going? Is it going where it needs to go? And be able to address any issues that you have with any type of policy. So my whole point is, this is what you have to do when you are an active, concerned parent. Get your ass up and go down to the PTAs, the school boards, and talk to the teachers, talk to these administrations, and ask questions and demand answers.
Yeah, you should do that. And then the other thing too is, I've noticed that a number of politicos try to use their board of education positions as springboards to higher political office. But take a look at what they did on the board of education. Could they handle it? Could they run it? Were they effective or not? And if they weren't, they don't need to go into public any further up the ladder in public office.
So it's another clip that I wanted to play, talking about education. Let's take a listen.
Now that I am no longer a teacher, thank God, I can finally say the things that have been on my mind all school year. Okay? As somebody that taught high school and basically educating our new young adults, we should all be scared. Every last one of us should be scared. These kids cannot read, they cannot write, there is no type of comprehension skills, no type of critical thinking. They cannot do anything on their own. They expect everything to be taught to them. Well, I won't even say taught. They expect everything to be given to them. So in my class, we did this thing where I made them write once a week. So they would have some type of assignment where they would have to write at least a paragraph, meaning 5 sentences. 5 sentences. The amount of assignments that I got in with 1 sentence, 2 sentences, the amount of complaints I got with the whole 5 sentences, that's too much, that's too much. Can we do 3? Can we do 3? Isn't 3 considered a paragraph? Oh, baby. We are in for a wild ride, y'all. Every assignment that I gave them, I kid y'all not, every assignment that I gave them, there was several students that came to my desk and asked me to walk them through the entire assignment, the whole thing. But genuinely, the truth of the matter is everybody is failing these kids. Everybody. The school board with all these different rules, they're failing these kids. The principals or admin altogether, they're failing these kids, and they're failing the teachers because they're basically telling us that we had to just pass a child along just to keep these graduation numbers up. So everybody. Oh, and don't get me started on the parents. Like, I would call and say, hey, your child is failing, and the first thing is, well, why didn't I know about this? Probably because you didn't answer the phone. Probably because you didn't respond to my emails. On top of that, you have 24-hour access to Power School. When I tell y'all it is horrible, like, the parents that are here now are not the parents that we had growing up. My parents checked my Power School weekly. And still to this day, my brother just graduated high school a few weeks ago, and still to this day, his grades were checked. Everybody's grades were checked. So, unfortunately, it's not these kids' faults. I mean, yeah, they're lazy, but like, what are you supposed to do when all you got to do is tell your mama, well, she failing me, and the school board is going to accommodate that parent? Like, it's crazy, y'all. We should be very scared for our new nurses, our new doctors, our new everybody. These colleges are going to have to start lowering their requirements. They're going to have to start lowering just lowering everything, because the way that stuff is going now, the amount of kids that are going to come into these schools and they cannot read, they cannot write, they cannot do anything without AI. We should be scared. We should really be scared. Have a great day.
I taught high school and junior high school a long time ago, ran a playground for the city school system a long time ago. One of the things right now is they don't let the children fail. They get to walk across the stage with the cap and gown and get an attendance certificate, but no diploma. They need to start flunking students so that they are shown consequences for not performing. The world is an inflexible place, and nobody's going to treat them nicely. And over the last 25 years, there's been poison spread in this country. Over the last 35 going on 40, poison has been spread by conditioning the youth to expect that they will be treated as entitled, pampered poodles, where everybody will open their kibbles and bits for them.
Right. And if they can't write a complete paragraph, and I'm pretty sure those one or two sentences are probably incomplete or run on, we should be scared. But also, I'm scared of the parents, because it's like, what are you not doing?
They aren't being parents. They've got an excuse. You gave them an excuse. It's not their fault. It's white supremacy, or it's something else, or it's these evil fascists who are out there trying to spread horrible things to repress the not rational, but the natural urges of the child who wants to get into their emotions but are kept from it. No, that's not how the world works.
And just like the previous woman talking at the school board, it's like you want to throw down LGBTQAI plus and push it down kids' throats, even the parents, but you don't want to teach children how to write properly, or make sure that a lot of times schools administrators know which child is being abused, which child has a dysfunction going on at home, and they don't intervene on any type of level, like the real importance.
And then one thing I want to go in here, because I dealt with it on the bench officially. What is being called abuse is not abuse per se. It is simply reasonable efforts to discipline a child. Tennessee, fortunately, still allows corporal punishment of children. You can spank them as long as you don't cause any permanent disfigurement or physical injury. Now, the problem came in that even though this statute was on the books, a lot of the prosecutors and police were totally unaware of it. So people would come in and they would be convicted in a lower court by a judge who was unaware that there was no such statute, any statutory sanction against spanking a child. And you spanked the child, therefore I'm sentencing you to so and so. I'll suspend most of this sentence, and they'd appeal it up to me. And I just say, what does this say? Read it.
Well, you know what?
And when you read it, it's like, okay, what is the permanent injury that the child suffered? Did they get any broken bones,
But
any
this is
cuts?
what they're suffering. They're suffering neglect. They're not
That's
being,
it. No, it takes.
and a lot of kids are being, I would say, brutally physically harmed, whether they're being,
It's not the number you
sexually
think.
mistreated.
There are
Well, no,
significant
no.
number.
Okay, so I'm not even going off the numbers because there are a lot of cases that are not even being reported.
I know, but there is abuse.
But
But
it's
the abuse
neglect.
has.
Let me just say this: it's neglect all across the board. I don't, even if you're not disciplining your kid, if you're not abusing your kid, okay, fine, you're not abusing your kid, but you're not taking the time out to teach your child how to read. You're not sitting with your child to go over the homework. That is neglect. That is child abuse.
Well, yeah. But you see, there's another thing going on too. I've noticed this. You ever heard this old phrase, children should be seen and not heard? I mean, I never would have thought when I was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, 10 years old, unless it was an emergency, to interrupt two adults having a conversation. You're at somebody's house now, and the children continuously interrupt the adults in conversation. It's okay, and nobody stops it. The child wants to go act out, and you tell the child, don't do this, and looking right at you to go ahead and do it anyway and grin about it. And nothing's done. And these children keep growing up with this confusion. So I agree there is abuse, child abuse. There's a lot of it, but too much of what is ordinary human discipline for children is deemed to be abuse now. And somewhere along the line, somebody's got to make a distinction that swatting a kid, switching a kid, taking a belt to a kid's backside, there's nothing wrong with that when it becomes instantaneous reinforcement for the adult orders, instructions, and commitment to having a
Well, let me just say this.
dignified, peaceful
That's
household.
that's not an issue anymore because parents are not even taking the time out to spank kids.
Right,
So,
but I'm just saying it's become such an anathema that my point was is even though Tennessee by statute allows children to be spanked, you had prosecutors and police and judges who were unaware of that, completely unaware of that, and they would go arrest parents for a simple spanking on the behind of a child. And then a judge in a lower court, since it would generally be a misdemeanor, would go ahead and convict the person, and they didn't have any statutory basis for it. So it would be appealed up to me, and I just got all of these appeals that came up, and it's like, well, are you aware of this statute? Look at it. It says it's okay to spank the child. So what did this adult do to their child but spank them? So it says it's okay.
I mean, I'm not even focusing on the spanking because you're not doing nothing else. So, and so I look at it like this: if you're going to spank them, but you're not doing anything else, that is abuse because you thinking if I beat them, they're going to behave. No, idiot. You have to also parent. You have to also pay attention to what they're doing or not doing or what they need help in. You just can't. A lot of times when kids act out, it's an underlining issue there. So you beat them, put them on punishment, and that's it. No, that's bad parenting.
Yeah, I agree. The problem is that parents go along to get along, but the problem is not getting along with the child. The child's supposed to get along with you. So you got a child in your household and you're letting the child run the household and dictate what goes on inside the household because you don't want the child not to be your friend. That's not what your job is.
Well, yeah.
It gets really weird because I've seen enough kids who were this way when I'm looking at them as a 30-year-old adult. Now they're 30 years old. I mean, they were children when I was 30, and I've seen them. So now they're 30, 40 years old, and I'm looking at, I saw this coming. It doesn't work.
Well, a little bit of celebrity here. We haven't done celebrity in a minute.
Must we?
Yes.
I hate that.
I don't care.
I hate it. But
Well,
go ahead.
Wait a minute. There's something wrong here. Wait a minute.
Senator Cory Booker.
He got married. He is I's married now. I's married.
Good for him.
So where was the other thing? Oh, I thought I saved the other thing. Damn. Wait a minute. Oh my God. I hate this. I did save it. Where is it? Give me a second. I know I'm not going crazy. Let me refresh. Oh, maybe I am. I thought I did save it. It was something that I wanted to read. Okay, yeah. So the new wife here, right? I think this is true. Just look into Cory Booker's brand new wife, Alexis Lewis. Everything up screams the perfect Democrat checklist. Sidell Friends grad, that's the elite school where the Obama kids went, worked under Eric Garcetti, pushing equity projects in South LA, co-ran the mayor's Evolve Entertainment Fund, now a senior VP at Brasa Capital, flipping value-add properties in minority neighborhoods is the new word for gentrification and new branding. Jewish, progressive, polished, and looks like Rosario Dawson 2.0. Oh, she's Jewish. Met in May of 2024. They moved in together a month later, engaged 2 months later, fast tracks 2 stage ceremonies, North Courthouse, and an interfaith chuppah. And boom, the internal bachelor suddenly has the ideal 2028 running mate. I mean, wife. Yeah.
Well, what that means is her mother's Jewish and her father's probably black.
The
Looks
father
like
is
it.
black. I saw the picture. The father is black and the mother is white.
Jewish.
Yeah, we say Jewish.
That's same thing with the computation of slavery. Your mother's status determines the outcome. She's pretty enough.
Well, I found this funny. George Santos tweeted, I married my first wife before I came out of the closet, and there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I kind of didn't want to say that, but
yeah. So
yeah,
when
hey, it's not Lucille and and
So in 2020,
Felicia
yeah.
and Sally, it's Bob and Bill and Jamal. I remember Sheriff Bud Boy down in
Well, here's the
Atlanta
thing. Here's the
and his
thing.
little
But
gay porn
here's
stuff.
the thing. They're probably going to separate after he loses the 2028 presidential bid, and
He's not going to be
that's when they're
president of the
quiet,
United
and
States.
that's when they're going to quietly separate. So
He's not going to be president of the United States. Come on, he can give that up.
So listen, I want to swing over to Diddy. Diddy is back in the news because Tuesday a new documentary drops on Netflix, and I can't wait because I will be watching it. And it was executive produced by 50 Cent. It's really going behind the scenes of him going through the legal drama before he, ended up behind bars. So I want to play this clip here. This is 50 Cent being interviewed on Good Morning America. P. Diddy's nemesis.
Of Sean Diddy Combs in the days leading up to his arrest in New York last September.
You want to put the stuff in my fanny pack, King?
The exclusive video obtained by Netflix shows Combs debating with his lawyers about strategy.
Listen to me. I'm going to get off the phone right now, and I am going to let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution. No matter what, no matter what nobody said. Let's just here and there, y'all are not working together the right way. We're losing.
The footage is part of a new highly anticipated docuseries by director Alex Stapleton and rapper and executive producer Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, titled Sean Combs: The Reckoning.
Was there anything that surprised you when you were watching?
I think it was surprising that he actually filmed it.
It was very interesting to watch a man who's known for his brand presence. You know, he has a really amazing knack for marketing and all of that, and how he was sort of taking that into account in how he was coming off to the public.
The exclusive video also shows Combs in Harlem greeting fans.
Off my back, bro. Lord, you win. I'm gonna win. Lord, you win. We win it. I'll accept it. I need some hand sanitizer. Hold on. I got it. I've been out in the streets amongst the people. Yeah, I gotta take a bath. Like the amount of people that actually I'm coming in contact with, like that's what I have to do. You know what I'm saying? Oh. It's like 150 hugs.
You're a public person as well, and there was one instance in Harlem, and his reaction when those people
went away.
Got in
the car and said, I feel like I need to wash, like I'm dirt. That was, it shows you his character.
Was that the reason for including it?
Yeah, I mean, and what's the odds that you would do that in front of the camera? Like that's one of the moments where he forgot he was on tape.
How do you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the victims a platform?
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right, for 20 years, right, is me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester, like maybe you'll come play with me, type of thing, right? And it's not personal.
I think it's important to also let people know that the show is not completely the perspectives of people that did not like Sean. We weren't trying to just get the highlights, the salacious details, that the real goal was to storytell. And not everyone needed to have an allegation to be a part of this project.
The 4-part series also features 2 jurors from Combs' trial who are speaking for the first time about how they reached their mixed verdict, finding Combs guilty of 2 prostitution offenses, but clear of racketeering and sex trafficking charges, both sharing their thoughts on the relationship between Combs and singer Cassie. Juror 75 describing them as 2 people in love, and Juror 160 saying in part, domestic violence wasn't one of the charges.
Cassie, is she a victim in all this?
I believe Cassie's a victim in all this because she came in as she's like 18, like 19 years old in the very beginning. After a while, over time, you condition for it.
The goal of what the film is trying to do is to let the audience kind of come in to ask questions like, were their decisions colored by certain things, and who got the benefit of the doubt, in that courtroom?
Do you think that hip hop culture was on trial as much as Sean Combs was?
Not all. Look, if I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as the hip hop is fine with his behaviors. There's no one else being vocal. So you would look at it and just say, because that mind your business, or let me not say nothing about nothing, or those things, it would allow the entire culture to register as if they're for that behavior.
If Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time. Because you'll see people saying that. I mean, he may feel a different way about pieces and bits of it, but he knows the truth. I think he'll see the truth in it.
Wow.
So, what are your thoughts?
I don't care. What were they talking about? It's irrelevant to me, other than the aspects of the case, which it came back okay. Let's see what happens on the appeal. I think.
But do you think this harms the appeal process, having this documentary?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Doesn't make a bit of difference.
Are you going to watch it? Are you going to watch the
No,
documentary?
I'm not.
Well, don't you want to hear what the jurors had to say?
I haven't imagined. Look, this is what look. This is like somebody dramatizing what you did as a massage therapist. How boring can that get? And then the social aspects of it, in my mind's eye, that belongs on the last page, the last column of the last section in the newspaper, because it's gossip what they're focusing on.
I didn't think that. I'm like, okay, we are completely done with the Diddy saga, right? And here we have it, the documentary. So I guess, people, particularly 50 Cent, are figuring out ways to make money off him. And also,
yeah, they are. And it's classic exemplar of where we go wrong.
And Diddy, during a holiday, he's at Fort Dix in New Jersey, low, somewhat of a low security facility. He bought everyone. He contributed to Thanksgiving dinner in the prison, and he's been doing a lot of, I guess you could say, charity, or helping other inmates financially and educationally, I guess with business and stuff like that. He's making friends. It's photos of him smiling. And so yeah, he financially paid for the Thanksgiving dinner at the prison he's at. So he's
How
settling in.
nice.
He's settling
And I
in.
don't care.
So what do you think, just real quick, his appeal process, do you think it may have some success? I don't know.
Yes, I think it likely will. I
Mhm.
think the main part that's going to be the biggest contention is the sentencing and general atmosphere, what went on. But thanks to Biden, Stennis, Byrd, and such like, from a long time ago, the criminal justice system, federal criminal justice system, is kind of screwed. You can have trial by ambush, and a lot of what they're doing is somewhat unholy.
Everything is unholy to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just dealt with it. It was my business, and I've seen it go downhill.
I have a
It's
question.
not nice.
Well, thank you, Max. He's a member. Hi, Dana. You're the best. JJB is the best. Thank you, Max Bolt 5179. Appreciate you. Alonzo says, Judge, when has the goalpost remained in the same place? Naturalized citizenship can be stripped. Watch the show. Naturalized.
Yeah, I try and do it. now find
Well,
me a
okay, so you're
statute that
saying that it's
allows.
not impossible. It's just that are they going to actually?
They won't. And the other thing is too, you're forgetting this part that if it's said on the floor of Congress or traveling to and from uh, home to Congress, the person's totally immune by Constitution. So that isn't going to happen.
You eat a lot of soup.
Yes, Campbell's soup. And I know it's supposed to be bad for you.
And you still eat it?
Yes, I do. It's quick to fix. It works well in the
But it's
microwave.
not real food. It's not real chicken. They are
So
saying that
what?
Indian people are
So
stupid, black
what?
people are lazy, and
So
they're so
what?
unprofessional, and they're feeding people fake food.
And the point is,
And you're still going to gobble it up. Oh,
yeah,
he
it's
said,
fake food. Okay,
well,
tastes good.
they said the reason why it's fake because it's cheap and it's really for poor people.
Well, so
That's
what?
not
It
right.
works.
That's not
That's
right.
ramen noodles too. Don't forget ramen noodles.
Yeah, exactly. So it's okay for these corporations to make toxic food
I don't
for
care.
poor people because poor people can
I'm
afford it.
not
That's one
poor
thing
and
they
I
can't
eat it
afford.
too. I'm
No,
not
but the
poor and I
majority of
eat it
that's
too.
what majority of poor people buy because that's what they can't afford.
Well, it tastes good. Soup is soup. You know, you go to Olive Garden and you get soup and salad unlimited.
And Campbell's soup.
Campbell's soup, you know, I've
And the
been
only reason
eating
why
it a
you
long
defending them
time. I
because you
haven't
got a
died of
cabin.
it yet.
The only reason why you defending them because you got a cabin full of
I know that. I've been eating the stuff for the very longest
so
time
you could
and
be
they
in
ain't dead
denial.
yet. What?
So you're in denial.
It's not a matter of denial. I don't care. It tastes good.
Because what is it? Yeah, because you gonna turn around and say, "Oh my God, I'm not gonna eat anymore," and I'm probably like, no, you want to make it look like it's no big deal because that's all you eat and been eating, and it is a big deal.
It's not all I've been eating, and whatever I like soup, I order it quite frequently at restaurants. And some of it's good, some of it's bad, or at least in terms of the taste.
Well, here's the last thing I want to bring up. It has to do with the law.
A blow to the Trump administration today after an appeals court upheld a ruling that disqualifies one of his appointees. And you'll recall that Alina Habba used to be one of President Trump's personal lawyers. He made her the acting U.S. attorney for New Jersey, despite her having no prior experience as a criminal prosecutor. The Court of Appeals has now ruled that the, quote, citizens of New Jersey and employees of the U.S. Attorney's Office deserve clarity and stability. And it all came to a head after a New Jersey man facing drug trafficking and firearm charges moved to dismiss his indictment in July, arguing that Habba was appointed unlawfully. Habba's office, the Justice Department, and the White House did not immediately respond to NBC's request for comment. NBC's Gary Grumbaugh joins us now with more on this. And Gary, break all of this down for us, will you? And what exactly was considered to be unlawful? Just her appointment.
So here's what happened here. President Trump appointed Alina Habba for 120 days. At the end of that, she was not confirmed by the U.S. Senate or kept on by the U.S. district judges. So she was out of a job. Then the U.S. district judges in New Jersey put in somebody new. Attorney General Pam Bondi didn't like that, fired that person, and reappointed Alina Habba. The U.S. District Court in the District of New Jersey found that to be unlawful. Today, the appeals court found that to be unlawful. We have a statement from the plaintiffs in the case saying, quote, President Trump cannot usurp longstanding statutory and constitutional processes to insert whomever he wants in these positions. Tom?
You know, it's probably worth saying that this is not normal, right? I mean, pre this administration, this kind of back and forth on a U.S. attorney is not the way things normally go.
It's not, but we have seen this all over the country in the past several months. We saw it in Virginia with Lindsey Halligan. We've seen it in Nevada. We've seen it in California. And I'm sure soon, Tom, we're going to see it at the Supreme Court, because that's likely where this case is heading. Trump administration is all about fight, 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 appeal, appeal. I'm sure that's where this is heading next.
Okay, Gary Grumbaugh, thank you very much for that.
Let's see what happens on the Supreme Court level. And as the Supreme Court has recently ruled, the president runs the executive branch of government, and the attorney general is a secretary in his cabinet who is there to advise him. So, yes, this person is subject to confirmation by the Senate, but the person is still subordinate to the president. So let's see what the Supreme Court rules. And it's not saying that the prosecution is inappropriate. It's saying that the officer in question is not properly where they are, but then they start trying to talk about experience. I am aware of a person that 4 days after being sworn into the bar exam at a very early age was appointed a circuit court, district court, superior court judge in the state of Tennessee, and less than 2 years out of law school, with never having had a client, a case, or appeared in a courtroom as a lawyer, was appointed and confirmed as a federal judge. So it was a disaster for years until the person finally learned what was going on.
Somebody says, what do you say, Judge? Hooligan and Haba disqualification proxy by Bondi. Hooligan is the one that was disqualified from the Letitia James case and James Comey case.
Well, it is what it is. They can resubmit.
What is that? But honestly, it is a good question. What is going on with his not following protocol with appointment? Like, you're not appointing these people properly. So whatever major
in other words, what it is,
it's messing up the cases. You're literally letting corrupt criminal. Let me just say this: you're literally allowing corrupt criminal people to have their case dismissed on a technicality. You're not following proper protocol on how you're appointing these people to these positions.
That's not quite what the case is about. The situation is about, and the press is not reporting it. There's some lack of clarification in the law, and what happens when Congress is not in session, meaning the Senate portion of it, and somebody is appointed during that period of time. They stay in for a while, and then they get to come back and get resubmitted. Now, one of the contentions they have that I take issue with is how a federal judge can sit there and legitimate somebody. You notice part of what they talked about was the person wasn't confirmed by the Senate nor by federal judges. I don't read the Constitution as giving the federal judges the authority to certify somebody in their particular branch of government, which is the judicial government, not in their branch, but their branch of government extending into the executive branch, where they get to decide upon somebody who is okay to be in the executive portion of the branch or ratify their appointment. So the woman just needs to be resubmitted or somebody else substituted, and the prosecution can continue. So no big deal. They're blowing a big cloud of smoke over essentially nothing. And it will work itself out.
Okay. All right. Good
It's
show.
just boogeyman Trump. Oh, he's so horrible.
Oh, he's corrupt. He's breaking the law. Everybody breaking the damn law.
Yeah.
Sarah says DEI has destroyed the country. Federal judges should be voted on and not appointed.
No, they shouldn't. not on the
No, because
federal level.
we don't pay attention to federal judges. So that you're not going to get an honest vote. People don't even pay attention to the local judges that they got to vote for locally where they live at. So
You
uh,
have the good and the bad. It depends on
yeah,
who the president is. If you've got a good
true.
conscientious president, then you get good federal judges. If you got a jerk in the White House, then you get jerks on the bench, like I was talking about. Why in the hell would anybody appoint somebody 31 years old, 32 years old, just out of law school for less than 2 years? Why would they appoint them to a federal bench?
All right. Well, listen, great show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And most importantly, guys, thank you so much for the donations. Anthony, thank you. Max Body or Bodie, thank you. And of course, AAA Finity LLC, thank you so much. That was very lovely and generous of you. And the Jackals of Tara Argentum, I hope I'm saying it right. And of course, Alonzo Dunn, always supporting, and everybody in the chat, everybody on X, love you guys. No taxation. Thank you to Miss Pamela Denise Long for coming on and vote long for Senate of the state of Illinois in 2026. Matter of fact, make sure you go vote and vote her to win the primary on St. Patrick's Day next year. And we're definitely going to have her come back next month, Judge, and in February and in the beginning of March before St. Patrick's. So got to get her into office. Go support, and support, I mean, by donating, donate, and volunteer and spread the word, of course. So thank you again to her. That was a great guest. And thank you, Judge, as always.
Okay. Buy your
Can you
show.
look up in the camera?
What's that?
Look in the camera. What
I
you
was
looking down on your
reading what
phone
you were
playing?
putting up
You
there.
playing some game on your
No, I'm not.
phone.
I'm reading some of the commentary.
No, you're
I
not.
can. Now I'm not. I couldn't do it before because I had to.
You was looking at your
I know
phone.
I'm looking at the phone. I'm reading what's coming up on the phone,
Why are you reading?
and
Why?
I'm looking at what's happening
Let me
there.
see, because I don't think you are. Let me see your phone. Hold it up.
Okay.
No, don't go to the show, because
I'm
you, if
not
you had it
going to the
already up,
show.
you
I'm
would
going to show
then
you what
flip
I
the
was
phone so I
reading.
can see it. Because you wasn't reading the comments, you was reading something
No,
else.
I was reading this.
Exactly. That's not the comment section.
This is my own thing. Read it.
I don't got time for all that.
Well,
You
yeah,
need to focus. Put your eyes up. Hello?
Yeah. Well, I'm listening to you. So
I'm about to no, we ending the show now.
well, get yourself some barbecue stuff. The winter's here, but you can practice for next summer. JJBBBQ.com or Judge Joe Brown Barbecue on Amazon, and they'll deliver it to you in 2 days free if you have Amazon Prime.
The dog sleep.
One of them is
Eddie!
under the desk. Don't wake them; they're asleep.
Mahogany.
The big one's asleep under the desk, and the small one is. Where is the small one? Around here.
Well, be careful that you don't lose her, step on her, because she's so small.
Well, she scoots out of the way nicely.
All right, Judge.
All
Good
right.
night. I'll call you.
Later on. Good show.
Boings. It was a good show.
All righty.
Actually, let me
Let me ask you a question.
What?
They've done something with the latest edition of this iPhone thing, the 26.1. It used to be when you did messages, if you went up and you indexed it and went to info, you had show all pictures, and any pictures that you had sent to this person or they had sent to you, you could index. Now they no longer have that. So if you haven't saved their pictures to photos, you're going to lose them. It's crazy.
It is crazy, but I really don't care. But good night.
No, I mean it has a archival function that's lost now. I guess the kids don't care, and the phones are set up for 16-year-olds.
Good night, everybody.